A very good evening and thank you for being a part of our network. The last week saw Twitter shares drop significantly and the company says user growth has slowed down as well. Facebook has also turned 10 years old. We'll tell you about an innovative method they're using to celebrate this. Emila Vushe is paying us a visit and we'll chat about internet laws in Africa with her. We'll also talk about the copyright of apps with Derek Gotze from AmLab. We are live. Find us on SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Microsoft is warning South Africans to be aware of a new phone scam. The tech giant says the company's name is being used to take money from people.
Microsoft South Africa says consumers get cold calls from scammers claiming to be from Microsoft. These callers tell the victims that they are checking into their computer problems. They then trick their victims into installing malware that could capture sensitive data. The data can include online banking details and passwords. The cold caller also directs the victim to the site that allows them to take control of the computer remotely. They then spend time on the computer trying to demonstrate where the problems are, in the process convincing the victim to pay a fee for the service. These scammers often use public phone directories to harvest consumer names and personal information.
South Africans don't get taxed for digital products and services ordered over the internet. The government wants to change this. These products and services include e-books and online gambling. But as you can imagine, there is some opposition. Network's Sile Khaswane has the details.
It was in 2013 that the South African government suggested a tax on products bought online. Downloading music, books or gambling on the internet will mean the purchase comes standard with a value-added tax, VAT. Speaking on Morning Live on Friday, copyright expert Graham Gilfillan defended the controversial intention.
Since when is not paying tax okay? In which life, which school, which hospital, which policeman, which teacher has a job if we don't pay tax?
Graham Gilfillan is of the opinion that electronic purchases are wrongly not contributing to the local economy. He suggests it's mostly foreign online retailers that benefit as they operate from tax havens abroad. Morning Live host Leanne Manners questioned the pro-digital tax guest on how this will be enforced.
How can you enforce something like this? I imagine it's very, very difficult.
No.
Not difficult?
Well,
how do you enforce it?
Imagine this. How does a cell phone company enforce every second of time used? Technology. Yeah,
Okay.
not a problem. So there's a payment that has to happen. The payment must go through the bank. The payment's electronic. It's measured, it's tracked. If it's coming from a phone, it's probably got a GPS next to it as well. So it's not like we can't keep track of this.
Digital products and services will have a 14% VAT as of April this year. Analysts say the tax is likely to push the price of goods up.
IBM has begun rolling out its Watson supercomputer system in Africa. The launch took place in Lagos, Nigeria. It's hoped the system will address many of the continent's development obstacles.
So good is the Watson supercomputer system. It beat humans on the American TV quiz show Jeopardy back in the year 2011. The system uses artificial intelligence that can quickly analyze huge amounts of data and understand human language well enough to hold sophisticated conversations. And now it's coming to Africa. The International Business Machines Corp, IBM, has begun rolling out its Watson supercomputer system across Africa.
With Watson, Africa is going to become the cognitive continent of the world. Okay. Africa really has no choice but to embrace cognitive. Otherwise, governments will have to look for that extra billions of dollars. What Watson is going to do is to create new markets through cognitive computing.
There are a number of ways that the Watson system can benefit Africa. For example, roads in countries like Nigeria are often poorly maintained or flooded. This is problematic for logistics companies as it's impossible to predict how long a journey will take. IBM's Watson system would help such companies by telling them where potholes are, which junctions are choke points, and whether it's raining. The company said last month it would invest over 10 billion rands in creating a business unit for Watson.
A book on M-Pesa has launched in Kenya. It's titled Money Real Quick. M-Pesa is Kenya Mobile's money transfer system, which over 18 million users in the country. The book is authored by University of Nairobi lecturer Tony Omwasa and senior fellow at the Center for Emerging Markets Enterprises, Nicholas Sullivan. It will be sold on Amazon.com, and there is a Kindle version as well. Kenya and Nigeria have come out as the biggest winners of Microsoft's For Africa initiative. The companies identified by Microsoft will receive grant money.
2 Kenyan and 2 Nigerian companies are among the 5 tech startups that will receive assistance from Microsoft. The other is Ugandan. There is no Southern African company that will receive funding. Here is the managing director of Microsoft South Africa explaining the initiative to Network late last year.
And there are 2 key challenges that we're focusing on. One is youth unemployment, and secondly is to support small businesses. Both those actually connected in one way or other, because if you grow small businesses and grow those companies, they will tend to absorb the young unemployed people that are out there.
Kenya's Africa 118 is the first on the list to get Microsoft's assistance. The company helps the public to locate business addresses through their mobiles. Uganda's Access.Mobile LLC offers technology solutions for enterprises in the healthcare and agriculture industry. The providers of the textbook subscription app in Kenya also make it onto the list. Nigeria's saving plan app, Save and Buy, and the mobile game production company Gamsol complete the list of the 5 tech startups that Microsoft will assist to grow in the next year.
Bank card pins could soon be a thing of the past. In order to reduce bank card fraud, there are discussions on biometric authentication ATMs. These will need your hand to check fingerprints if you are really the person withdrawing the money. The technology has been developed by American company Lumidime, but it's not clear when these would be coming to South African shores. Google will now hold a 5.94% stake in China's Lenovo Group. The deal is part of a multi-billion rand agreement to sell Google Motorola's phone unit. Lenovo will then be the 3rd largest smartphone seller in the world, surpassing Huawei. iPhone and Samsung will still be the top 2.
Last week, we reported that Google is planning to sell the Motorola handset division to Lenovo. The deal also results in a sale of 2,000 patents by the American internet search giant. Once the deal is complete, Google would then own 5.94% of Lenovo. Google says the Motorola move to China is what is needed.
We think Lenovo has the expertise and track record to scale Motorola into a major player within the Android ecosystem.
Lenovo is the biggest handset maker in China, but the company is struggling to gain proper access overseas. They say the deal will help the company and grow Motorola again.
The deal will not only bring Motorola mobility back onto a healthy and profiting track, but also help us in the competition against the top 2 smartphone makers.
When the Motorola deal closes, Beijing-based Lenovo will surpass Huawei and become the biggest smartphone seller in China and the 3rd largest worldwide. iPhone and Samsung are still bigger internationally.
Microsoft has a new CEO. He is Satya Nadella from India. Until now, he was Microsoft's Cloud and Enterprise Group Vice President.
Employee Satya Nadella is now set to head the company. He takes over the reins from Steve Ballmer, who inherited the job from Microsoft founder Bill Gates in 2000. Bill Gates himself is set to step down as the chairman. He'll now play a role of technology advisor to the new CEO. This marks an epic change of control at the company that drove the PC revolution. At least one analyst reckons Bill Gates' new position is a good move all round.
A hell of a less powerful role in terms of managing the business of the board, but he's narrowing the scope in on something which I don't think anybody can argue with, in that he's going to give insights to products. And at its core, Gates is a product person.
Apple, Samsung and Google have gained a ton of mindshare for the future. Analysts say Microsoft's new CEO will need to evaluate whether Microsoft can win in this space.
A lot of us don't remember life before Facebook, but the social networking site has only just turned 10 years old. To celebrate, they've created a video timeline for us. On it, we see things we've done since the day we joined Facebook.
This was one of Facebook's very first status updates. Typed by young Mark Zuckerberg in an intoxicated state in his Harvard dorm room 10 years ago. Little did Zuckerberg and his roommates, Eduardo Severin, Andrew McCollum, Dustin Moskovitz, and Chris Hughes, note that their creation would become a worldwide phenomenon. The social network was first limited to Harvard students in February 2004. It then spread to Ivy League universities in North America's Boston, Massachusetts, and later expanded like wildfire across North American and Canadian schools in 2005. Facebook eventually became accessible to everyone with a valid email address in 2006. Over the years, cell phone registry increased the social network's popularity, especially in third world and developing countries. May 17, 2012 was Facebook's stepping stone. The social networking company held its first initial public offering. This proved the magnitude of the company, which boasted more than 500 shareholders. A decade later, Facebook remains #1 on the social network list. This February marks 10 years of status updating, photo sharing and tagging, and location checking in.
SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter. Let's take a break and we'll be back to talk about a discussion on internet laws.
With so many bad incidents happening around us, we continue sourcing, unpacking and televising nation-building and compassionate stories. From the nation's pride, those who go all out, top achievers, hard workers, those dedicated to making this country a better place, and unusual friendships. Catch all these and more on SABC News.
This is the program in which we showcase different aspects of government.
The Northern Cape is a land of many diverse cultures, of frontier history and brave missionaries. It also has countless challenges.
The Northern Cape has been plagued by especially alcohol abuse, rape and common assault and things like that.
More opportunities are being created each year to benefit all in the region.
This is a nation at work.
Welcome back. The internet is hard to govern. People often post just about anything there. In parts of Africa, some have found themselves in trouble in the past. Let's take a look at this before we get into our discussion about a meeting to discuss internet laws.
During what was termed the Arab Spring in Tunisia 2011, people went on social networks to organize boycotts against their governments. This New Age Revolution platform aggravated the Tunisian government. They responded by ordering the internet to be shut down in the country. This trend trickled down to Muammar Gaddafi's Libya and Hosni Mubarak's Egypt. Leaders of these countries all wanted to implement internet censorship laws. Some of those who went on Twitter and Facebook to vent about their governments ended up behind bars. The Somali government does not have full control of the country's internet services. Recently, rebel group Al-Shabaab reportedly banned the use of internet through cell phones and fiber optic cables across the country. This infamous group also went on Twitter to boast about their success in attacking Kenya's Westgate Mall in September 2013. In Zimbabwe, authorities recently had a teenage boy arrested for allegedly pronouncing President Mugabe dead on his Facebook page. there seems to be a list of unwritten internet laws within the African continent.
A workshop on best practice for drafting internet intermediary laws in Africa is taking place in Johannesburg tomorrow and on Tuesday. Joining us to talk about this is Emila Vushe. She is with the Association for Progressive Communication. Hello and welcome, and thank you for being a part of our network.
Thank you so much, and good evening to your viewers.
Now, what will be happening at this meeting?
This meeting, we have invited participants from all over Africa, and we have international experts from Chile and the Netherlands to basically talk about internet intermediary liability in Africa. Our aim with this workshop is to increase awareness on internet intermediary liability in Africa, and also to create networking and collaboration opportunities for different stakeholders who are interested in internet intermediary liability. And based on what we are going to discuss in these workshops, we are going to develop guides or need to know documents for different stakeholders.
All right, and who are the stakeholders that you've invited?
We've invited the media. You've been invited to that workshop. We invited the technical community, legal experts, civil society organizations. We also have the Internet Service Providers Association and human rights defenders.
These laws don't actually exist in Africa. Why is it important to discuss them?
It is important to discuss internet intermediary liability because if you look at our interaction now, social interaction now is mainly online, and having liability on intermediaries creates borders, and it actually limits our freedom of expression, not only online but also offline. So it's an important discussion that we need to have.
But it's not just African countries that have been invited, is it?
Yes, we also have a speaker, a lawyer from the Netherlands, and also another expert from Chile.
Why does Africa not have internet laws at all?
That's what we are going. That's a very good question, and that is something that we are going to discuss tomorrow and also on Tuesday. But also what I talked about is creating awareness on what other countries have in place and discussing what we want in these laws. What is it that we want to see? What do we want to see in these laws, and what frameworks and regulatory and legal frameworks that can guide us in internet intermediary liability?
Now, the internet is very hard to govern. Do you not worry that if you create such laws, then you're saying to governments, police the internet?
Yes. What we have realized from our research that we have done with this project is that governments want to place liability on intermediaries for two main reasons. One is on practicality, because they think that internet intermediaries have got the financial muscle to monitor online activity, and also the second one is fairness. They think that, well, they've got the finance from advertising and all. Why not be responsible and monitor user content online? So what we want to discuss in this workshop really is not us trying to come up with a law, because it's impossible to govern the internet, and it's impossible to create like a template to say this is what we want.
All right, and it's a full-day event, and can anybody come, or is it just the people you've invited?
It's just the people that we invited, but we are going to disseminate the outcomes of that workshop to different stakeholders, and we will put it up even on our website.
All right, and after the 2 days, what are you hoping is going to happen?
After the 2 days, what we are hoping will happen is we will create guidelines for different target audiences on internet intermediary liability, starting right from defining what internet intermediary liability is. What are internet intermediaries? What is internet intermediary liability? And also developing guidelines for our regulators and lawmakers, taking examples from other countries.
All right, Emila Vushe, thank you very much for being a part of our network tonight.
Thank you for having me, Melele.
All right, and SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter. Let's take a break.
How does then media balance those two, responsible reporting and also keeping it factual?
If you're a journalist, and especially a journalist writing a story for a front page, you have to report the facts. The fact is she came to like a fashionista to court.
Once again, media be given credit for carrying this story since its inception.
The media has been very brilliant, and I think they walked the extra mile.
Where is the media in giving us the both sides of the story?
One of the issues with e-tolls is that it really has been a hard news story. And so I can understand why social media has been so effective, because breaking news is digital. And so we're going to get breaking news on that platform and then move into the other platforms of media coverage.
That's Media Monitor, Sundays at 9 a.m. on SABC News.
SABC News plays a critical role in providing unbiased and reliable news. We have a well-established reputation of uncovering, reporting and delivering news. A significant growth in popularity of our news demonstrates the demand for our news content. We continue to provide unrivaled coverage of vital events in and out of the country. Wherever the news is happening, we'll be there to bring them to you at the right time. No one has the news covered like SABC News. We lead and they follow. SABC News, Africa's news leader.
Welcome back. Now, music producers and singers get royalties when what they've produced is sampled. This also happens when their stuff is covered by other musicians. It's the same with film as well. But what happens with mobile phone applications? Here to discuss this with us is MLab CEO Derek Gotze. Thank you for being a part of our network.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now, are apps financially viable?
They are. I mean, if we look at the global economy last year alone, it was about $68 billion worth. And we're expecting that to grow over the next 2 years to double to around 142 billion. So it's a very profitable area to be in if you are a developer, but the question is how do you approach it and what exactly you do with your, how do you monetize your applications?
How do you approach it?
So there's a couple of ways of doing it. I mean, the most popular at the moment is uploading your application to a store and pretty much charging the consumer to download the application or putting in advertising. But the problem there is that there's something called a poverty line for applications, which is kind of defined as applications that make less than $500 a day. And the problem with just downloads or advertising is that it comes in at about $150, so 1,500 Rand. So you need to look at different ways of doing it, either selling your application to bigger corporates, selling your skills to corporates, and now there's a trend to move into e-commerce, which seems like the most profitable way of monetizing your applications.
And South African companies, how are they doing in this?
They're doing quite well. I think we have a way to go. The companies that are out there are doing well because there aren't many skills in the market. But that is part of the problem, that there's not a significant pipeline of skills coming in. So we're going to struggle to compete globally. If you look at the amount of developers within mobile, we're looking at around 2.4 million globally, of which 760,000 sit in Asia and only 70,000 in entire Africa. So you can kind of see why it's important for us to keep developing these skills for local needs.
And royalty rights, what royalty rights do developers have?
It's very difficult. There are a number of places that you can go and register your copyright for the code that you write, and you can decide whether it's available as open source or whether you're making it available for use without royalties or with royalties. But it's unfortunately something that's very difficult to actually track and implement and make sure that you get your royalties and money on the applications.
And some of those rules and regulations, what would they be?
Pretty much the most important thing would be that if you are engaging with a client, for example, which is at the moment is the primary way for developers to make money, is to make sure that you go through the legal processes, put in the contracts in place, make sure that you assign the rights to use your copyright post receiving the money that you earn from it. But it is a very difficult thing to do, and it's unfortunately also something that you can't patent necessarily.
And do a lot of smaller players give up their rights to bigger players?
It does happen. I think one of the problems is that when you are a smaller player, it's difficult to compete with marketing and kind of getting consumers on board and using your application. So you always face a lot of competition, and if you've kind of gone into market and you've shown that there's an opportunity, it's not always easy to compete with someone if they make you an offer for your for your rights.
Tell us about some of the most popular apps that have been created from your lab.
So some of the most popular ones or interesting ones, we have an entrepreneur called Justin Kutsia down in Cape Town. He's developed a product called Go Metro, and it's for the Metro rail system, which now allows all of the commuters in the country to kind of know when the trains are coming, when there are delays, when there are issues, as well as interesting stuff like finding jobs now while you're on the train. We have another team that focuses on the taxi industry in South Africa. We know the taxi industry is load-based, so it's not necessarily as formalized as it should be. And this team of young entrepreneurs have come together and said, you know what, let's find a way to almost formalize it, help the queue marshals to understand where the taxis are coming in from, where they should go, where the commuters are. So it's interesting stuff that's starting to come out.
What do you actually do with them, and how can one get involved?
So the MLab is an open program that was founded by the World Bank and the Finnish government, and is currently supported by the Department of Science and Technology, as well as the Innovation Hub and the CSIR. So we're a non-profit organization that tries to help innovators, young entrepreneurs, developers and designers to come together and start innovating and create products. So we have an intake once a year, which starts again around April this year. So if there's anyone out there that is an interest in bringing their application to life,
they should look up the AmLab.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Thank you very much, Derek Kotze, CEO of AmLab.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And that's all we have for you. Remember to find us on SABC Network on Facebook and Twitter. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. The Azonto dance is getting many variations from Africans all over. Tonight, we leave you with one from YouTube. It's titled Azonto Dance to Ianya There. From me and the rest of the team, have a good one.
Well,